Hey, Scott from aristocob.com here.
And Seth from theshrinkingpastor.com.
Is that back?
No, I mean, it's never left, but...
It's true now.
It is true.
And together, I'm not going to say it. Felt like a throwback for a second there.
All of us are Markwood Men's Breakfast Club. Part of the Breakfast Club. We are the Markwood Men's. You bring the Breakfast Club.
You know what? Let's talk about this. Let's get our pipes lit, and then let's talk about this change, all right?
Okay.
All right. What we're going to do today is we're going to do something different. First off, I have 3 pipes that I've mentioned before that we purchased and have never offered for sale on our site. These 3 are part of what's called the, the Outlaw series. And they have on them a silk screen or a pad printing of an outlaw, somebody with a bandana over his face. And they're named after various outlaws. I can't make this one
Jesse
out.
Jesse
James, Cole Younger, and I think Bart Starr. No, what's
Billy
her
the
name?
Kid.
Lady.
I don't know.
Anyway, when I talked about these before, it just sort of rubs me the wrong way. I'm just not a huge fan of promoting lawlessness and all that. I know I'm taking it way too far, but I really don't care for these pipes. As pipes, they're perfectly fine. So I'm going to make these available on our website, and we're going to get rid of the dozen or 2 dozen of each of these that I have, and then I'm not going to sell them anymore. So when this video goes live, that'll be in the morning, I guess.
Yep.
I'm biting off more than I can chew there. Let's say in about a week.
How about you post on Instagram when they go available?
That's a good idea. So watch Aristocob on Instagram. But I thought these would be the perfect pipes for what I want us to do today.
Okay.
And that is, I want to either dispel a myth or prove a fact that you should never smoke a cigar in a pipe. Now, I remember I mentioned that a friend of mine who couldn't pack a pipe used to smoke cigars in his pipe.
Right.
But I've also heard people say that it will ghost even a pipe that can't ghost. And ghosting is where the flavor of another tobacco lingers in the pipe. And one of the things that they say about corn cobs is they don't ghost.
Right.
Well, maybe they do. So I'm thinking today we're going to find this out. And so the way that he used to smoke them, and I've got a...
it cannot be
Romeo and Julieta here.
any stronger than some of the strong English Latakia Perique tobaccos we've had during Tobacco Advent.
You'd certainly think so. Oh, this is just that much too
Yeah, I'll just cram it in there.
large.
The pipe doesn't know it's a cigar.
Well, I was hoping to do what my friend did, which is to stick it in and just cut it off flush.
Gotcha. You'd have to use something bigger, maybe.
Let me see.
Which defeats the purpose, I know.
We're going to go with your method.
Okay.
Just
use the pinch, poke, and twist.
Just cram it in there method. I suspect that this cigar maybe is a little bit thick on the end, so it may be that it'll fit better from the midway point. So here, do what you can. The thing is, once you cut this wrapper, it's going to want to unfurl.
Right.
So do your best with that.
So I guess that you don't have to.
Now you can let it extend out of the pipe if you like.
Right. That's what I was going to say. I guess it doesn't need to pat
Let's see if that burns.
down, does it? Because still, it's still a cigar.
Again, they being in this case cigar smokers say that the wrapper and the binding underneath the wrapper that holds the filler in place, that those 2 things contribute quite a bit to the flavor.
Sure.
So what I just did by trimming all that off was foolish. So I guess I'm going to go ahead and cut that flush before I light it. Yes, you could leave it out. And my friend used to do that. He'd walk around with this ridiculously huge cigar hanging out of his pipe.
I need a bigger knife. I'm going to leave mine out.
Okay. That reminds me of a joke. Hey, speaking of that, did you see that Arrested Development is streaming now on...
Season 5, yeah. Came out today.
I am excited about that.
Me too. Have you caught up, though?
I mean, it came out yesterday.
Wow.
We're filming this on Tuesday night. By the way, did you also see that I went to East Coast Wings today for lunch?
No.
I went to East Coast Wings and I looked up at the sign and they have a special 75-cent bone-in wings for lunch. Sweet, I'm on it. I ordered 10 wings and I'm into the second one when I realize, hey, that's their Monday special.
Oh no! Oops.
Yeah.
We're still doing keto, still doing that strong. Wings are great for keto.
Unbattered, whatever.
Unseasoned are great, but even some seasonings are pretty awesome.
I'm not talking seasoning. I'm talking about batter or breading.
Right. Well, who batters and breads chicken wings?
A lot of places.
Really?
A lot of places do, yeah.
Don't do that. They don't need it.
I agree.
Just toss it in the deep fryer.
I suspect those are places that are buying them frozen.
Yeah. Chicken wings, just deep fried, are great, and some sauces are pretty great too. At Buffalo Wild Wings, the Parmesan garlic and spicy garlic are both pretty low.
Ooh.
They're excellent. All right, so
I don't know if this has anything to do with the fact that we're smoking these in pipes, but man, that's intense. And I've smoked a couple of this cigar. This is Romeo and Julieta, 1875, and I don't remember it being like that.
Well, as I suspected or feared, cramming it down in there makes for a pretty tight draw.
Mine's not too bad. I didn't cram it in, I guess, as much. Anyway, so one of the things we wanted to talk about here today, be curious to see if this goes out while I talk, considering cigars typically, though, and that is kind of piggybacking on the pipe professor. On his channel, he talked about the other day about buying from some online tobacco retailers, and as a pipe retailer online, I guess I have an opinion on that. Let me tell you first off,
it's a good video.
I thought so too.
It's a good video, and he runs down his top 5 favorite online, or 7, I think, favorite online tobacco retailers, and what he likes about them, what he thinks they do well.
And unexpectedly, he mentions Aristocob,
Yeah.
but outside of the context of selling tobacco. We don't sell tobacco, at least not yet. Anyway, it got me to thinking about something that happened this last weekend, and as I compared notes with Boy, he had also watched that video. So here we are. We're going to talk a little about this. First thing I would say, I am a huge fan of brick and mortar pipe shops. I would encourage you, as much as reasonable, that you support, if you have a local brick and mortar, support the brick and mortar. Yeah, their tobacco is going to be a bit more than what you're going to pay for online, but you're not going to pay for shipping, typically. And if you like having them there, then that's kind of the tax, right? You're going to pay a little more there for them to have
Immediate access.
Yeah, have that access. That said, if you don't have a brick and mortar, or your brick and mortar doesn't support with the tobacco that you're interested in, or they seem to be gouging, and let's face it, there's a retail price and there's a street value of things, and we all know that the street value is what most people would pay. And I'm not begrudging anybody for doing what they have to do to keep their doors open. I have to do what I have to do to keep the family fed. So I don't pay exorbitant amounts at a retail establishment. So that said, and by the way, this is true of corncob pipes too. Buy your corncob pipes from your local brick and mortar if they've got decent pipes, and it's nice to get your hands on them. That's one of my favorite things about a brick and mortar, is you can at least be assured of the quality when you get the thing in your hand. I do buy tobacco online, and I do buy some pipes online. And what's weird about that is I smoke corncob pipes. It's pretty much 99.8% of the pipes I smoke are corn cobs. And then the non-cobs are typically briars. And when I smoke them is usually each one about once a year, maybe. And it has more to do with the memory of the person who I received the pipe from, or who I purchased the pipe from, supporting some pipe makers and things like that. But there is one shape of pipe that for some reason connects with me. And so every now and then, while I'm on eBay or Craigslist, I will search for Savinelli 320. The Savinelli 320, which we joked about how the Morgan nose warmer is kind of the 320 of the corncob pipe world. It's just something about that shape appeals to me, and I own two of them. I have a rough one and a smooth one.
Yeah.
And
I own one of them. One of the.
And I smoke each one of those about once a year. So much to my surprise, I stumbled across another 320 on Craigslist, and let me show you first off what I got. In the original package, in the original sleeve, whoops, and unsmoked.
Yeah.
Okay, totally unsmoked. This is a Trevi, and the Trevi is that designates the finish and the band. This pipe retails, or street value of this is around $100, maybe in the 90s, but around $100. And you can see what I mean by about how the Morgan nose warmer kind of puts me to mind of this. This has got a larger bowl, it's heavier, it's got a fatter bit or stem on it, so it's a little bit harder to clench. In fact, the guy I bought it from, I asked him why he was selling it, and he said first off he got it as a gift himself, and that he has TMJ really bad. And oh, we got a bird in here. He's got TMJ, a pain in his jaw, and that he likes to clench a pipe, so he typically smokes corncob pipes. He didn't know who I was. He says, I prefer to smoke cobbies. So, well, I like cobbies too. So this was listed there, and it was listed for $100. And along with that, it had listed a unused leather pouch. And this is just like one I own. And, well, it says leather, but I don't know if that's pleather. Could very well be. As far as I'm concerned, that was a freebie. I didn't buy this pipe because of the pouch. But he said the magic words, and that is, or best offer. So I threw a number out at him. I said, look, I'm not really in the market for this, but I would be interested at $50. He came back immediately with, sounds good. So we met up, and I got the pipe, and now I have an unsmoked to go with my other unsmoked pipes.
That's great.
I do. I like that pipe.
Yeah.
And you have one.
I do too.
Where did you get that?
It was when one of the websites was having just a killer deal.
Oh, I remember that.
And it was like $100. You get a $100 gift card for $50 or something.
I remember that.
$25. It was just crazy, and so I used that to get one of those. I've smoked mine. That was aside from the Mr. Brog, the lumberjack over here. That was the first non Dr. Graybo non-cob pipe that I ever owned.
Interesting.
I don't like this.
The cigar.
I don't care
for.
I don't.
A pipe.
The cigar is fine. The cigar is fine. I feel like I'm having to draw real heavy to get that. Heavier, tighter than I would in a cigar.
You don't want that.
And so I'm feeling it. I feel more than I would if it was just a cigar.
So pry it out of there, throw it away.
No.
And...
I mean, it's an experiment for the people. Part of this is to see if it's going to ghost the cob, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in general, I don't understand why you wouldn't just smoke the cigar.
I guess I didn't jam mine in as hard because I'm not having to draw very hard on it.
I pushed and twisted it down in. So I got a good way in there.
What I am experiencing here is the fact, remember I told you how much they say the binder and the wrapper contribute? This is a much more harsh smoke than the previous two of these cigars that I smoked. Could it be?
So you think that the binder helped to mellow it out?
Perhaps.
Before?
Perhaps. Or perhaps it's the geometry of smoking this thing inside of a... maybe changing the way it... I don't know. Let's keep smoking.
Yeah, probably not getting the same... Mine, because I had a completely open end and shoved it down, I wonder if you're not getting the same surface area you would if you were smoking the pipe, and if that's changing how the smoke is received.
Keep smoking, and I've got another plan for another video.
Okay.
So anyway, back to the buying online experience. I've purchased Aristocob pipes, the old system pipe, the aluminum pipe. Purchased a bunch of those over the years on eBay.
You don't say.
I do say. I don't like to talk about it, but I do say. And I should never have talked about it on my channel because now I can't buy one to save my life. They're so expensive.
Yeah.
And then the issue that people have immediately is, hey, where do I get the liners for this?
So expensive. You can't.
Yeah, if you can find them, they are also being fought over.
Yeah.
Pretty hard. So, I think the best alternative to that is you can buy a wooden one. You can buy a briar one to replace it, and at least while you're waiting or in between cobs, at least it gives you something that you can still use the pipe.
Yeah.
There is one more thing too. There was a pipe called the Mark II that Missouri Meerschaum also marketed. It was also a system pipe with replaceable cobs, but it worked completely different than the Aristocob. And what you will notice...
Give that a try. See if mine's different than yours.
I know where your mouth has been.
Yeah.
Here.
Sure.
Doing this. Oh, yeah.
Totally different.
Yeah, mine's like smoking a pipe.
Yeah. And the flavor on this
why don't you
almost
cut
like
that off and see if you can loosen it up a little bit.
I've already poked some holes into it.
Have you?
Using my lighter bro.
Yeah, I'm having the experience I would expect to have with it as far as the draw on it. There's nothing bad about that. If you like if you like a pipe, if you like a cigar, and maybe you want to make it last a little longer, I don't see why you couldn't do this. And if it goes, so what? Dedicate a cob to it.
Yeah, the other thing that you could do, I guess, is you could grind it up, cut it up, and...
Oh, that was the other thing that I was going to say. Why don't we do that on next week's episode?
Sure.
My suggestion...
We have that herb grinder.
Well, that's...
The herb grinder, the tobacco...
So we'll talk about that next week, and we'll do it next week. If you're curious about that, be sure to
I'm curious about that.
So anyway, but back to online retailers. I would agree. There are folks that have had bad experiences. Most people have had okay experiences with them. You got to factor in the cost for shipping.
Yeah.
A lot of times they'll do a discount code or a special where the shipping is going to be cheap or free. I often wait for those, or I'll wait for some promotion that'll come in and they're doing a deal. I buy too many cigars.
Yeah.
I sent Boy a picture the other day. One of the cigar companies online had a special for, I don't know if it was like $10 for 10 plus shipping, so it came out to like $15 for 10.
Yeah.
Really, truly name brand decent cigars. And I go and I put it in my shopping cart, and as I'm heading to check out, a little pop-up pops up and says, hey, with this order, you can also purchase these 5 cigars for another $10. And those were even better cigars. So I did. So now I have 15 more cigars to go into my how many humidors that I have. And this is the
first cigar?
Second or third cigar of the year.
Yeah.
The other ones were with my buddies.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I like a decent cigar. I just don't ever have the opportunity to just sit and totally dedicate the time to cigar smoking. It's what it takes.
Yeah, I guess you don't often feel bad if you have to abandon a pipe. You don't feel as bad if you have to abandon a pipe as if you have to abandon a cigar.
Well, I could also multitask with a pipe.
Right. Yeah. One of the things that the pipe professor said that I thought it stood out to me. He was talking about the customer service of smokingpipes.com, I think. And
well, wait, it depends upon which part of the story you're talking about, because
I don't recall.
Pipes and Cigars,
maybe that's the one,
was having real problems with their website and their inventory, and they were taking orders and not telling you that everything was on back order, and it became this huge disaster last year.
Right.
And then they tried to woo people back with like a discount code or something like that, and I guess that didn't go 100%.
That's certainly difficult. That's difficult for any business. I think it's especially difficult for an online business where the only interaction that you have is through online communication.
Yeah.
And so even when you make an announcement, it can be likely that the person on the other end won't hear it. But then, when you're trying to put fires out internally, you don't want to announce that, hey, we've got fires going on internally.
Because it may not be a problem with your order, right?
And because it it leaves can leave a bad impression, right? You don't want to tell people, man, we're back ordered for 2 months because of whatever stupid production issue. But at the same time, there needs to be transparency and clear communication. One statement he made was that one of the online retailers, he said, it's almost like, when I deal with them, it's almost like it's as close to an in-store purchase as I feel like I can make. He said, there's always seems to be good communication back and forth. Always seems like, so when you go to buy an estate pipe, you're seeing the actual pipe and not just a stock photo of one. And
that's probably smokingpipes.com.
Yeah, and that's a hard thing to replicate. The business that I work for, we sell a lot of our products online, and we run into that often. And for us, it's even more difficult because oftentimes the customer is coming to us uneducated. And in order to make sure they get the right product, you could go to our website and just buy something. Yeah. There's about a 50% chance you're going to pick the wrong thing. And so trying to educate them without making them call us is a challenge, because who wants to do that, right?
Yeah.
And then figuring out how to walk them through the steps of assessing is difficult.
The company that I work for as a trainer sells hardware for a lot of things, but for cabinets and furniture and architectural millwork. And we have a Lazy Susan. In this case,
that's not nice. I'm sure she's hardworking in her own way.
In this case, they call it a revolving corner unit. But this thing has got doors that, instead of hinging outward, as they usually do, or instead of spinning around locked in at 90 degrees, which they sometimes can do, when you do that, you have to have huge gaps so that the door can swing into the opening. And unless the rest of your cabinets have inset doors, where the doors are set into the cabinet, that one cabinet in the corner will look different than all the rest of your cabinets. Well, this one's interesting that the doors, if I can demonstrate it as if I'm inside the cabinet, the doors come together and go into the cabinet like that, and then travel around, and then they come out on their own. And it gives you overlay on the sides. So if you plan it right, you build your cabinet slightly different than the rest of the cabinets. You either don't have a face frame or you have a narrower face frame, and then that way the doors can come in. Problem is, it was one of their most returned items, because what wasn't clear is you can't put it into a cabinet like you make in the rest of the kitchen.
Oh.
You can't retrofit an existing cabinet because the bottom of the cabinet has to be lower. And as I mentioned, you got to build the face frame or whatever differently than anything else in the kitchen. And that was one of those places where you could jump on the website, throw it in your shopping cart, Bob's your uncle, you end up with a unit that you can't install. The second issue they had with it is it got put into Home Depot's Expo store. They had a number of these stores they were experimenting with that were a little more high-end. They had more of the kitchen showroom kind of feel to them.
Right.
And they had this thing on display right after the manufacturer improved it and made it so you could make all of the adjustments on the doors, because you got to be able to adjust a door just like you can with a hinge door. You got to be able to move the doors up and down and in and out to get everything tuned in just right. Well, they improved the product, making it adjustable without tools.
Okay.
And they put these big old thumb screws on the inside. Well, everywhere there was a Home Depot Expo, our sales rep had to go in once a week and readjust them, because people would reach in and go, oh, look at this. I wonder what this does. And suddenly the door's scraping across the top, or the doors aren't pocketing properly. So again, it's one of those things that in the house, people aren't going to do that, or they're going to be shown not to do that. But in a retail environment, anything that looks like you can adjust in a display, people are going to adjust.
Yeah.
So, man, it was a long, long learning curve for everybody on who can install it, therefore who should we sell it to.
Yes.
And then making sure those people let the consumer know, hey, these 2 adjustments here, the installer will do that. They'll make sure everything's working perfectly. Don't mess with them. In buying online, you don't have that opportunity.
Yeah, that's one of those things that we've run into. We've had in the last year a couple of customers call us 6 months after they've installed a product. Now, they've installed it in concrete, in the ground, and whoa,
hey, I think my landlord is mowing.
I am. Hello. 6 months after. Excuse me. 6 months after installation, they realize they've got a problem, and we find out that it wasn't installed properly. And that is a tough conversation because there's no easy fix when you've got something encased in concrete.
Yeah.
And so we're constantly, every time it happens, it brings to our attention our need to find even better ways to communicate the right way to them before they do that. But it's hard because we know human nature is most people don't read the instructions.
Oh, yeah. We get into this thing with LED lighting where it may be that the client, the consumer, decides at the last minute that I really love these lights. Can I add more of them in the closet? Well, really high-end closet manufacturers do things to make all that invisible. So they'll hide the drivers, the power supply, way up high, maybe behind some molding, and it's not so easy to access. Excuse me, and they need to make sure it's accessible because things happen. But we'll hear about that they learned to put it in the toe kick, not to put it up.
Yeah.
Recently talked to a guy that they had the one job that this came up. The closet had 10-foot ceilings, and they put wardrobe lifts in and things like that to utilize that space, and they needed to go up and access the power supplies, and it was a pain.
Well, the really tough thing in all of these situations, not so much that one, but when you're dealing with online resellers, and in our situation, when you're dealing with a product not working the way that you expect it to, the easiest place to point blame is on the product, is on the online reseller or seller. And, when the reality is, if it wasn't installed right, not really their fault. It should work under the right conditions. Or if they're having distribution problems, it's also not really their fault. But you can't really pass the buck when it comes to customer service.
Yep.
So you have to take those hits. And
so speaking of taking the hit, I'm not enjoying that cigar.
No,
and mine's burning just fine. I'm not enjoying it the way it tastes.
No, my taste's okay, but it is hitting me pretty hard.
Was it really?
Oh yeah.
Well, because you're really fighting to get it in.
Yeah, I'm feeling a bit dizzy.
Okay.
A little. So I'm done.
Knock it off.
Yeah, I'm done until next week.
Why am I drinking hot coffee is my question.
Don't know.
Because it's good.
So you said the cigar tastes different in the pipe.
I think so.
Okay. And I thought it was really difficult to get it down in there. So you'd have no problem with it. It seems like it could be kind of touch and go. Or maybe you just have to get the right technique and get the right cigar.
Right.
Probably.
So we'll follow up with what I think is going to be a better technique next week. And if you can get over this.
Yeah, I'll be fine.
In time for next week.
Yeah, I'll be fine.
We're going to smoke the exact same cigar, and we'll see how it works out. All right, with that, let's wrap it up.
Okay.
Make it a great week, and that's all I got.
Who, in your opinion, what business, here's your question, what business has really stellar customer service? Really stellar customer service.
You mean?
In particular, online.
Aristocob.com?
Excluding Aristocob.com. Not a plug. All right. With that, we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.